Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
This is awesome!
Hello, welcome once again to Cheap Shot Entertainment. As ever, I am your host Luke, and you are the Cheap Shot Nation, and you are in for a treat today because I sat up with the lads and watched AEW Takeover Cardiff and Royal Quest to some extent, but I'll get into that during the actual video. I'm not going to be doing a video for Royal Quest. I don't tend to do videos for New Japan unless you guys want me to, but I'll explain why I won't be doing it for this time. Anyway, so join us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, and don't forget the blogspot at cheapshotentertainment.blogspot.com, and there's a link to the t-shirt shop, and consider buying some merch. It helps us out loads going forward and improving the channel and the content that we can deliver to you guys, the Cheap Shot Nation. Anyway, this video is for AEW's pay-per-view All Out. Now this was a big one. They had a lot of people talking about it, especially being on the same night as New Japan and NXT UK. It was an overall really good pay-per-view, but I'll explain some of the things that happened to us and other people during the show when we was watching it. It was on at 1 o'clock in the morning. Again, it being in the UK, that is the standard. So I was very tired. Had to re-watch a few matches just to get some notes for this one. So bear with me. It is the day after the night before as well. So that's why I say you're in for a treat, because I'm doing this on the day after, and we're going to try and get this up and going straight away with no delay. And without delay, I made a rhyme, and that's when it's time to move on to the main part of the video. There's this point where we explained that we missed the first part of the buy-in, based on the fact that we were still catching up on New Japan's Royal Quest. We'd bought Royal Quest on Fight TV. Fight TV did have some problems, and Woody, who bought it, did request his money back because there was audio problems and things like that. It's nothing to do with Fight TV. It was just a case of things going wrong at the wrong time. But if you did order that pay-per-view, I'd suggest you get in contact with Fight, because either way you can get credits or get a refund for it. Just won't be able to watch it again. We did incidentally manage to watch the whole thing, which is why we were late going into the pre-show. So I did watch the pre-show this morning, and I did find out there was another casino battle royal for the women's championship, and the inaugural match to crown the women's champion of AEW on the 2nd of October, which I believe is the TV debut of AEW, and that's when I will make my judgment on AEW as a product fully. So check that out when it does happen, if I manage to actually watch those shows. Anyway, All Out was on the 31st of August 2019. It took place at the Sears Center in Chicago. Not in Chicago, it was the Hoffman Estates in Illinois. I don't know whether that's in Chicago or not. Not a big geography person when it comes to the United States. But we did eventually watch the buy-in, or I did. So 21 woman casino battle royal. You know this from last time from All In. You know the rules. They get suits, they come in at different times, and the winner of this match, Nyla Rose, last eliminating Britt Baker to become one half of that inaugural championship match on October the 2nd. Like I say, receiving a shot at the women's championship. The second match on the pre-show was Private Party, which is Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn. They pick up the victory over Angelico and Jack Evans with a fantastic looking finishing move, double team Hurricane Runner into a cutter in the middle of the ring, and that combo was absolutely sick. I loved it. It was great, really decent match as well. And I'm changing my mind a lot about AEW. Didn't really get on with the last two pay-per-views. It's now all coming together. The commentary, the presentation, and the wrestling was always there. The quality of the wrestling was always there. Still think it's dangerous at times, but you know, if they're willing to do that to their bodies, then so be it. Great combination for the pin and Private Party win. Incidentally, after the match, it was Angelico and Jack Evans who would attack Private Party in a shock, really. You can tell that they're frustrated. They haven't picked up a victory yet. They've been very impressive. Like I say, that could give them that little bit of edge going into the TV tapings, and they could find themselves in the picture for the first ever tag team championships of AEW, and they're doing it really well in bringing those championships in nice and early as well. So yeah, that leads us straight to the main part of the card. It is SCU, SoCal Uncensored, versus the Jurassic Express, which is Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Marco Stunt. As the Jurassic Express go down in size, and so does their craziness. Because this match was incredible. You've obviously got SCU, you got those guys, lots of experience, and Luchasaurus is just awesome, and so is Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt as well. Really enjoyed this match. Not difficult to keep up with either, being a six-man tag. Really enjoyed it. Incidentally, we did miss a little bit of this as well, which I did catch up on, but the match would finish with a double tombstone pile driver with Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt stacked on top of each other, and Christopher Daniels picking up the victory for his team. So SCU pick up the victory. There's a big celebration in the ring, lots of respect between these two teams, and yeah, really good start to the show. Pac versus Kenny Omega next. I was surprised that this match was on so early, but thinking about it again, it was necessary to put something like this on this early for a couple of reasons. One, to get the crowd going. Obviously, it's Kenny Omega versus Pac. And the other reason was that it was chucked together last minute. Obviously there's no heat going into this match, there's no build-up going into this match. It was supposed to be John Moxley. He unfortunately has MRSA in his elbow, which is a nasty infection, so he's looking at getting back to full health, and so we wish him a quick, speedy recovery in the future. And yeah, Pac comes in, like I say, no heat. People obviously know who he is. We know who he is. He's from Newcastle. He's awesome, and he does lots of flippy stuff. He doesn't tend to do that much when he is a heel, and boy howdy does he play a good heel. And he is very much the heel to Kenny Omega's face in this one, because these two beat the snot out of each other from pillar to post. There's a few botches, there's a few jumps, and the barricade falling over and things like that, but these things happen in wrestling. It didn't take away from the fact that the match was decent, and the fact that they didn't have much time to put this match together, and it still came out and it was still thoroughly entertaining. The finish comes when Kenny Omega tries to get the one-winged angel on Pac. Pac reverses it into a standing crucifix, sort of rings of Saturn, which he calls the Brutalizer. Kenny Omega passes out from the pain, and he never says I quit, so maybe, or taps or anything like that, so maybe that leads to another match later on down the line with Jon Moxley on the sidelines going into September and beginning of October, which is, like I say, the debut of AEW on television. But yeah, Pac picks up the victory. I wouldn't have predicted that. If he was giving me a prediction sheet, I would have said Kenny Omega goes over. Kenny Omega's not getting it all his own way, and that can only be a good thing. I discussed this with Woody last night. He says, you know, Kenny Omega doesn't automatically have to get the win because he's Kenny Omega, and I fully agree with this. However, I would have put money on Kenny Omega winning, and I don't bet on wrestling because obviously it's predetermined. I don't know who's going to win. The Cracker Barrel Clash. Now, this, in theory, it was so daft, it was unbelievable. It was sponsored by Cracker Barrel. There was barrels on the ramp. You had 3 hardcore wrestlers in this one willing to put their bodies and just everything on the line. Like I say, the name was daft, but it was sponsored by a food place. And if you were eating Cracker Barrel while you was watching this match and you're of a nervous disposition or don't have a very strong stomach, then you would probably have spat all those crackers out, because this match was brutal. And incidentally, my favourite match of the night, because a Brit won it. Yay! We got a couple of Brits that won matches at AEW finally. So it is Darby Allin versus Jimmy Havoc versus Joey Janela. Never really seen Joey Janela. He's he's a really interesting guy based on what I've seen him here. But in this match, they fight. They go straight at each other. They tape Jimmy Havoc to a chair at one point and take him out of the match. Shove thumbtacks in his mouth and then tape his mouth up. He eventually gets free and comes back, takes the tape off, and throws those thumbtacks in the face of Joey Janela. It is mostly Joey Janela and Jimmy Havoc fighting each other here, but one of the big spots comes towards the end of the match. Darby Allin picks up one of the wooden barrels, climbs up to the top rope. I thought he was going to do like a moonsault with it and try and land on Jimmy Havoc. Incidentally, Jimmy Havoc is on the stairs. The steel stairs came into play as well, but he doesn't. He goes for the coffin drop, which puts it behind his back and just drops on to the stairs because Jimmy Havoc gets out of the way. Darby Allin has taken himself out. It looked like a nasty bump, and I can only imagine he's cut and bruised this morning and feeling the pain. In the ring, however, Jimmy Havoc picks up the other barrel and hits Joey Janela with the acid rainmaker ripcord on to the Cracker Barrel for the victory after hitting the superplex onto part of the Cracker Barrel. It didn't quite hit properly, so he hit the acid rainmaker and picks up the victory. Jimmy Havoc is your winner. Jimmy Havoc. Incidentally, I've now got my my little collectibles up on my TV stand, which is really cool because one of them is Jimmy Havoc and it's from WrestleCrate.co.uk. So get yourself the subscription because it is very much well worth it. So we next have another tag team match. It is Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta, the best friends, versus the Dark Order. Not really sure about the Dark Order. They've got like a nice gimmick. They seem to believe in that gimmick, which is good. But it's the Creepers that do my head in because they get involved a lot in their matches. But it's the Evil Order, Evil Uno versus the Dark Order, Evil Uno versus and Stu Grayson. They ultimately pick up the victory over the Best Friends, and they hit a fatality double team move, which is one of them jumping off the top and the other one catching them and knees to face. After the match, they continue the beatdown with the Creepers. Orange Cassidy turns up. The lights go out. Orange Cassidy turns up. Never heard of him before, but he's pretty cool. Wearing his sunglasses, got his hands in his pockets. Still manages to hit a tope on to the Creepers, taking them out. All the time his glasses stay on his face and his hands stay in his pocket. Can only imagine that is going to make the team of the Best Friends much stronger going forward in the tag team division. So yeah, really probably the weakest match, but it was still decent on the whole card. Hikaru Shida versus Riho next for the other half of the Women's Championship match on October the 2nd. Riho picks up the win with the double knees into the sternum of Hikaru Shida and picks up the victory. So she goes on to the championship match on October the 2nd. Decent match as well. Again, like I say, by far the weakest match so far has been the last tag team match that we talked about. This match was good, and it's good to see the women getting a lot of airtime on AEW, much like they're doing in WWE as well. So we can see the difference between independents and so-called fully professional independent women's wrestlers. So next, it's one of the biggest matches of the night. It is Cody Rhodes versus Shawn Spears, and both guys get to choose someone to bring out to ringside with them. Cody Rhodes chooses MJF, who is a full heel. Cody Rhodes, I get the feeling that he's sort of a tweener. He wants to be heel, but everyone cheers him. So I'm not quite sure about that relationship. But apparently MJF, Cody Rhodes is MJF's mentor in this sort of line. They bring out Cody Rhodes' dog, who is clearly in distress, and another Cody Rhodes entrance that I feel was unnecessary. The dog is in distress. There's lots of loud noises. You could tell visibly that the dog was in distress, and that's all put down on Cody Rhodes' entrance. I love his entrance theme. Cody, you don't need to have all these elaborate entrances. You just don't need to. Leave your dog at home. If you need to bring the dog with you, bring the dog with you, but leave it backstage. Don't bring it out onto a noisy stage. It's just not cool, man. And Shawn Spears chooses Tully Blanchard, one of the 4 horsemen back in the day. So this match goes all over. Tully Blanchard is in full heel mode here. He's ready to fight. Him and MJF do have a little bit of a scuffle before Arn Anderson comes down to the ring as Earl Hebner is distracted. He comes down to the ring, hits the double-A spinebuster on Shawn Spears, and this gives Cody Rhodes the victory here. He hits the disaster kick into the chair and hits the crossroads for the win. Incidentally, Earl Hebner here. Shawn Spears goes to hit Cody Rhodes with his weight belt, his signature weight belt. He wears it down to the ring. Earl Hebner stops him. He says, "No, you can't do that. That is illegal." Okay, so Earl Hebner goes and takes it to the side, puts it down. In the meantime, Tully Blanchard's taken his belt from his trousers, and Shawn Spears hits Cody Rhodes with it. Now Shawn Spears has still got the belt in his hand as Earl Hebner turns around. Now Josh said to me, "Come on, you've seen that." And I thought, actually, no. Earl Hebner hasn't seen the first initial shot. He's only seen Shawn Spears holding the belt. Doesn't know that he's actually done it. Then Shawn Spears hits Cody Rhodes again. Cody Rhodes no-sells, and this leads to the finish. But if you're going to stop him doing something, or with threat of disqualification, go through with it. Don't then stand there and watch him do it again and not do anything. Plus, Cody Rhodes hits the disaster kick to the chair. Does Cody Rhodes not have to play by the rules because he's one of the head guys? I don't know. This match, it was really good, and I really enjoyed the match. It's just a bit of a screwy sort of booking thing at the end of this match, which put it a bit further down for me. But I love Cody Rhodes. I think he's absolutely brilliant. Just don't think that he needs to take all these shots at WWE. He doesn't need to bring his dog out to the ring or anything else. And it does seem the focus of these videos when I do them that I pick on Cody Rhodes' entrance as being unnecessary. The throne being broken and things like that. The chair shot from Shawn Spears, which led to this match in the first place. His head was pouring with blood. It's not safe. It's not cool, man. I understand you're doing something different, but come on. Let's stay safe. Stay away from head trauma and things like that, and just entertain the people. But it was a really good match anyway, even if it did have a screw finish. And Arn Anderson is always cool, coming in and hitting the double A spine buster on Shawn Spears. Ladder match next. Like I say, this may be up there along with the Cracker Barrel match, the gimmick matches. Ladder match for the AAA Tag Team Championships. Here's the Lucha Brothers, Rey Fenix and Pentagon Jr. Versus the Young Bucks. They just allude to the Young Bucks being the greatest tag team in the world. Can't deny that. There's something about the Young Bucks that annoys me. They are ultimately very, very talented, but every time they hit a move, they pose. What's the point? Go after your opponent and make it look legitimate. Because if you pose after every single move that you do, then it makes it really difficult for me to watch. However, the Lucha Brothers are absolutely fantastic, and this match between these two great teams is probably the highest on the card, probably the best match that I've seen for a long time, and certainly the best match I've seen on the AEW pay-per-views to this point. They use everything. They hit each other with everything. They even have this spot where they've got ladders set up on either side of the ring. Matt Jackson is on one table, and I think it's Pentagon Jr. on the other table. Nick Jackson jumps off onto Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix jumps off onto Matt Jackson at the same time. Both couldn't care less about saving their respective brothers. They are real life brothers, both teams in real life, and they've had a rivalry for months and months and months. And you've got to think that the only way to separate these two teams was a ladder match with this championship. But you've got to think then that the Young Bucks are going to be going for the AEW championship. They do the AEW Tag Team Championship. They do give this match a reasonable amount of time as well, which is good because it's a ladder match. It gets a lot of spots in. There's tables, there's ladders, and it's just chaos everywhere. Chaos. But it was really good chaos, and it was such a good match. It does end with Nick Jackson going through a table after having tried to climb the ladder, gets pushed off, catches his foot on the top rope, looks really nasty, still manages to catch himself, so to speak, on the table. Otherwise that could have ended a lot worse, but that's just, him not having enough height when going over the top rope. Matt Jackson gets pile driven, assisted pile driver, package pile driver in fact, onto the ladder in a spot that looked absolutely sick, and I really enjoyed this match. You get that point. So both of the Young Bucks are out at this point, giving the Lucha Brothers chance to climb up either side of the ladder and reach that apex. They pull down the titles. They are still the AAA Tag Team Champions and take away their titles quite convincingly over the Young Bucks. But it was an absolute spot fest, this one. Really, really good match. Going into the main event, which is for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. We're going to crown the first ever AEW champion in this match. It is Hangman Adam Page versus Chris Jericho. Hangman Adam Page obviously won the Casino Battle Royal to earn his place. Had a really good match with Kip Sabian at Fight for the Fallen. Chris Jericho has made sporadic appearances on both shows. Chris Jericho beat Kenny Omega at All In back in May, and really good match. But the crowd at this point, having had that ladder match, went really quiet, and there was audible silence during this match when a spot did go wrong and Chris Jericho got busted open. Both guys, they beat the snot out of each other for 26 minutes. It would be Chris Jericho picking up the victory with the Judas effect. Incidentally, I don't like the Judas effect. I think it's a really crap move, but it did give Chris Jericho the championship, and he is your first ever AEW champion. Drink it in, man, because Chris Jericho is the GOAT. He is the GOAT. He is the greatest of all time. Chris Jericho picks up the AEW championship, and he will forever be in history as the first ever AEW champion. Bit confused as to why Hangman Adam Page didn't pick up the championship here, but I'm sure they've got a plan long term for him. Obviously, Chris Jericho's reaching his twilight now. I'm guessing he's picked it up. He's given the belt credibility because of his name, and Hangman Adam Page will probably go and pick that up from Chris Jericho at some point. But yeah, a really good match. Not the best match on the card. That goes to the ladder match, the tag team ladder match for the AAA tag team championships, followed by the Cracker Barrel clash, which I really adored. It was so much fun. It was great. But yeah, overall, I would say this pay-per-view is probably 4 out of 5 stars, maybe 4.5. Taking away some points for the Dark Order match and the screw finish to the other match that I mentioned as well. It was Sean Spears. No, it wasn't. But yeah, apart from that, really good. I'd definitely suggest you watch this one. Yeah, I think it was the Cody Rhodes match, wasn't it? There was the screwy finish because of Earl Hebner. That was it. Yeah, so I'm taking a bit off for that as well. But I'd say I'd probably give it 4 stars out of 5, or 4 whatevers, 4 AEWs out of 5. I don't know. I'll think of something really funny to give this review this show, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head. So there you go. But yeah, definitely go and watch it. If you can pick up a stream or something like that. You didn't hear that from me, obviously. But you can still buy it on Fight Network and ITV box office in the UK. So go and watch the show and let us know what you think. Obviously, the pre-show is free on YouTube to give you an idea as to whether you'd want to pay £15 for the privilege of watching a pay-per-view. So yeah, that is your review of AEW All Out. And so that is everything that happened at AEW All Out. Really good show. Changed my mind about AEW. I wanted to see a pay-per-view that would capture my attention, capture my imagination, and I think this one was the thing. My thoughts on AEW remain the same. I don't think they're a contender to WWE at this point. I will reserve my thoughts for that until they do their TV tapings and they can tell a few more stories, because I think that is really important to a product in wrestling. But really good pay-per-view, 4 out of 5 stars. Go and watch it. And you've heard it here on Cheap Shot Entertainment. You are the Cheap Shot Nation. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Hit that subscribe button, like the video, and hit that notification bell to know when we upload new content to the channel. Consider going over to the blogspot, clicking on the merchandise store and buying yourself some merchandise. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Goodbye.